The body of Mariana Baltara was discovered on July 28, 2017, not far from the house in which she lived with her parents and younger brother. The girl was closely watched by a man whose depraved mind saw her innocence as the perfect opportunity to kidnap her and fulfill his only desire to rape and kill her without causing no problems. Residents of the town of Pecta Morelos, one of the municipalities of the state of Mexico where the terrible event took place, shared the devastation that this attack left in its wake. He disappeared as soon as he got what he wanted, hiding the evidence. Meanwhile, the girl's family was devastated after the loss of their most valuable treasure. They came together without hesitation and fought tirelessly for 2 years to get the justice the girl deserved and to end the ongoing violence against women in the country. Some of the steps investigators took to finally apprehend the heinous killer who killed him on August 29, 2019 included creating an international alert and offering a cash reward to anyone who has information leading to the location of the criminal. On November 24, 1998, Mariana Jocelyn Baltara Venezuela was born in Epic de Maris, Mexico State. That is why she was born earlier than her parents and doctors expected. After the danger subsided and the girl reached optimal condition, she had to stay in the hospital for about 2 months under supervision of doctors. Wait that the medical professionals expected. After leaving the hospital, Mariana was a fighter, and as a result, there were no physical scars left on her body. She was finally able to return home to her parents Zaira and Orlando, who were happy to start a family outside the hospital. But in her early years she required special attention. In addition, because of this disease, she was diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 6. Like any other girl her age, Mariana had to take medication regularly to control her seizures and live a normal life. But she was exceptional, and everyone who had the opportunity to meet her and immediately fell in love with her because of the sensitivity and kindness that she exuded. When she was a teenager, she was very close to her family. Despite having many friends, Mariana preferred to spend time at home rather than going out or going for walks like other teenagers did. Her relatives claimed that she looked younger than her real age due to her appearance of innocence and mannerisms, which were much more childish than those of her girls' age. Mariana Baltara was also blessed with sensitivity and a deep love for animals, which inspired her to pursue a career in veterinary medicine when she entered high school. At the age of 18, she took a step in this direction, beginning the process of realizing her ambitions. On Thursday, July 27, 2017, everything went as usual in the Badir family from Valenzuela. For example, Orlando got up early every day to go to work, and Zaira got up at this time to prepare breakfast for the children. However, that day they had a guest, and Zaira was looking after her 2-year-old niece. Despite the fact that Mariana had lived for so long under the protection of her parents and shelter from evil, danger was closer than they expected. The store was only 250 meters from the house, so at about 9:30 in the morning Mariana complied with her mother's request and went grocery shopping, still in her pajamas. Although she was not used to sending Mariana shopping alone, she had been thinking for some time that it was time to give Mariana more freedom to could go out into the world and get acquainted with its realities. However, in a matter of minutes, what began as a simple everyday activity turned into a terrifying situation. Zaira was seized by uncontrollable horror driven by her mind when she realized that Mariana would not return home for some time. In search of her daughter, she went out into the street holding her niece in her arms. Walking along the path along which Mariana was supposed to go to the store, she asked the employees if they had seen girl. They replied that she had been there quite recently. After that, Zaira left the store, which confirmed her fears. She asked the nearest neighbors and employees if they had seen Mariana, but no one had any information and Mariana was nowhere to be found. Not knowing what to do, she returned home, leaving her niece in the care of her youngest son, and went outside again. This time she was accompanied by a neighbor who immediately noticed her concern. The two women searched further but to no avail. Mariana Baltara disappeared from sight. A devastated Zaira called her husband Orlando to tell him what had happened. Orlando suggested that she report the incident to the police, so he hurriedly returned home to search. At the request of Zaira and Orlando, all their friends and relatives joined them. The police also arrived at the scene. They asked if the girl could go to meet a guy or a girl. Zaira answered with confidence that Mariana does not have a partner, and she does not go on blind dates. therefore this can happen. Also, the fact that the girl was out shopping and wearing pajamas made the girl's parents even more aware that the authorities' help would not be as helpful as they had hoped. As a result, the family and everyone else who was with them during that difficult time began their own search by printing out posters with the image and details of Mariana Balter and pasting them around the neighborhood. They also posted information about the search on social networks and traveled around the whole city in search of the girl. Then Mariana's parents asked to show a picture from nearby CCTV cameras, but they were unable to get it. No one heard or saw anything unusual, and the cameras stopped working. When darkness fell on the Venezuelan home of the Balter family, doubts and hopelessness intensified. No one could believe that they were still alive. Nothing had changed since their worst nightmare on the morning of July 28th, which further aggravated the suffering of Zaira and Orlando. Suddenly, at about 8:30 in the morning, their son-in-law called them and informed them that a police car had stopped in front of the butcher shop adjacent to supermarket where Marianne went shopping the day before. Zaira wasted no time in arriving at the scene. As soon as she found out what was happening, she immediately greeted the numerous police officers who had just gotten out of the car and asked them for information. When she inquired about the possible connection to the kidnapping of her daughter, the police told her that they were with another friend. Zaira ignored their instructions to leave the company and remained outside while the authorities entered the meat shop to get the job done. After a brief investigation, they reported the heartbreaking news that a body had been found inside, which unfortunately matched the missing girl. A few hours later, Orlando, Marianne's father, recognized the body and confirmed the horrific news of her death, causing such a shock that it echoed through every home in Pecta, Morelos. The world of Zaira and Orlando, home to thousands of people, fell apart in less than a day, and the family they built is now drowning in a huge void. However, they had to muster the courage to endure the protracted and painful investigation necessary to find out the truth about what happened based on your loved ones. Initially, Zaira and Orlando were informed that the authorities visited the butcher shop where they were looking for Mariana from time to time. The owner warned them by phone that on Friday, July 28th, he came to the store as usual, but upon opening the door he found a significant amount of blood on the floor. This was the first unexpected news from which Zaira and Orlando had to face each other. Initially, he believed that this was an accident that happened to one of his employees who had permission to live upstairs. However, he discovered the girl's body when he went upstairs and immediately reported it to the police. When the police arrived at the scene, they found a knife that had possibly been used as a weapon, as well as bloody men's clothing. After a similar request and Orlando's identification of her daughter's body, they conducted the necessary forensic tests and expanded the investigation, which revealed that the girl had not only been sexually assaulted but had also been slashed in the abdomen by a butcher's knife who then waited for her to bleed to death. In addition, the examination showed that the girl died on July 28th and that she was alive during those hours when her family was looking for her on the streets, not realizing that they were closer than they thought. On the contrary, the owner of the butcher shop testified that on July 27th, the day of the disappearance of Marianne Balter, the store was closed. This happened every last Thursday of the month, as he used this time to complete accounting and administrative tasks from home, while his employee cleaned the store. In response to the news that the killer was hiding, the man said that over the past 15 days, the employee who was initially called the main suspect returned to work and, since he had nowhere to stay, rented an apartment upstairs for him. The man also added that the relatives received images from surveillance cameras installed in the store where Mariana went shopping. These images show a girl leaving a store with ham and eggs, but shortly before that the same camera captured an image of a man they were not trying to find. Based on all this information, it was determined that the only person allegedly suspected of involvement in the crime against Mariana Balter is Juan de la Cruz Quintero Martinez, also known as El Gura. This information confirmed that the criminal was close to the victim and therefore represented her as prey that he was going to hunt. At the same time, investigators learned from the owner of the butcher shop that 2,000 Mexican pesos were missing from the cash register at the time the body was discovered, which gave them confidence that a suspected employee stole them to escape. Quintero Martinez worked in the Casa butcher shop for 2 years before the tragic event, which was well known to local residents who often visited this place for shopping, When the girl turned 16 years old, she admitted to her mother that she was afraid of this man. Zaira asked her if he had ever said something indecent, or the man behaved strangely with her. She answered in the negative, but said that something in his gaze gave her an uneasy feeling. Zaira confirmed that he indeed looked terrible, as if he had shut himself off from the outside world. She also saw that although the other workers were chatting and joking with each other, he remained distant and reserved. But by coincidence, a man who had an accident as a result of which he was left disabled and with a scar on one leg suddenly stopped working in a butcher shop. He did not hear from anyone for a long time, and at the beginning of July 2017 he had not returned to his previous job. However, none of these observations gave rise to a call to the police or other authorities to intervene. When Zaira found out about this, she chose to complete the task on her own rather than send Mariana to the Myasnitskaya store alone. About 2 weeks later, she learned that this step was insufficient. Quintero Martinez managed to carry out his vile plan against the girl. He carefully watched her movements and waited until he could drag her into the butcher shop because he knew that on this Thursday he would be alone. As soon as he noticed Marianne passing by, he waited until she appeared at the door of the store again so that he could take advantage of her innocence, kidnap her, rape her, and then kill her. A few years earlier, after Quintero Martinez had an accident and left the store because he couldn't work and had nowhere to live, he returned to his mother's house because his mother had treated him cruelly. One day he tried to kill her the same way he later did to Mariana. For this reason, when the police went to look for Quintero Martinez at his relative's house, they could not find him there, and even his own family did not want to see him. This information was discovered during the investigation of Mariana's murder. When news of Mariana Baltera's case spread beyond the city of Ecatepec de Morelos and reached the national level through the media, investigators became concerned because he was not only accused of violence and murder, but also posed a danger to society. It was extremely important to find him in order to send him to prison, to let people know that Quintero Martinez was wanted. His photograph was posted on the front pages of newspapers and posters. Finding the whereabouts of the criminal was one of the most difficult things detectives had to do. The man they were tasked with finding and apprehending did not use any electronic devices, did not have a cell phone, and was not active on social media. As a result, authorities were forced to offer a reward of up to 500,000 Mexican pesos to anyone who could provide timely and valuable information leading to the location and capture of the killer. In addition, news of his hunt spread throughout America in conjunction with foreign groups, and the media played a decisive role in this. But all the paths that investigators took to find Quintero Martinez ended up being equal, and everyone believed that he had fallen underground. Finally, on August 29, 2019, more than 500 kilometers from Ecatepec to Morelos, he was found and taken into custody at a street intersection Burgos and Busta in the heart of Oaxaca. Quintero Martinez offered no resistance, and after a few hours he was flown to the state of Mexico and placed in prison on Saturday, May 7, 2022. Juan de la Cruz Quintero Martinez was found guilty of the murder of Mariana Josen Baltera Venezuela. On this day was sentenced to life imprisonment, as well as a fine of 400,000 pesos, 360,000 pesos as compensation for pecuniary damage and 80,000 pesos as final compensation for moral damages. During the trial against him, the Prosecutor General's office provided sufficient evidence confirming his guilt. Although Marianne's death caused irreversible damage that Balter's family in Venezuela would have to live with for the rest of their lives, destroying love and family relationships, his arrest was a relief to them since he would not be able to harm other young women. Mariana Baltera's commitment to organizing conferences where she shared her suffering and that of other victims and raised awareness of the violence against women that occurs every day in Mexico exposed a reality that affects everyone. Her parents protected Marianne from the dangers of the world, and this fact challenges those who place responsibility on the victim. However, one morning when she went out into the street in her pajamas to buy food for breakfast, she encountered the evil that was waiting for her on the corner. Friends, write your opinion in the comments, and also subscribe to the channel and watch my other videos. Thank you all.